Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello?
Is this Mrs. Dorothy Letterman?
That's right, Dorothy.
Yes, it is. Who's this?
Are you the mother of David Letterman who does late night?
She was never invited back. No cameo, no tribute. One moment, she was Johnny Carson's favorite. The next, she vanished. Back then, The Tonight Show meant everything. One appearance could launch your career, but if you crossed Johnny, you didn't just lose a spot. You were erased. No explanations, just silence. And everyone followed his lead. Carson's charm made him a legend. His timing was perfect, his jokes sharp. When he waved a guest over to the couch, it meant you'd made it. But if he didn't, it was obvious. No laughs, no warmth, no return. Behind the scenes, people whispered. Johnny held grudges. And once you were out, there was no coming back. You didn't even know what you'd done wrong. You just stopped getting calls. Comedians like Rich Little learned that the hard way.
You know, I can ad-lib better doing you than I can as myself. Whenever I see a heckler in the audience, I think, oh, I hope I'm doing Johnny by the time he heckles me.
So you can.
So I can come back with a Carson comeback.
He was quietly dropped after imitating Johnny too much. The excuse? His material was stale. But everyone knew the truth. Same with Dana Carvey. His Carson impression during Wayne's World promo was spot on, but Johnny didn't laugh, and Carvey was banned. But no fallout was bigger than Joan Rivers. Johnny had discovered her, mentored her, made her his guest host. She credited him with everything. Then in 1986, Fox offered her a historic shot, her own late-night show. NBC had already made it clear she wouldn't be considered to replace Johnny, so she accepted. But she didn't tell him first. He found out through the media. When she called, he hung up. He never spoke to her again. She was blacklisted, not just from his show, but from the entire late-night world. If you went on her show, you weren't welcome on his. Insiders say it wasn't about rivalry. It was about loyalty. And to Johnny, she broke that. Joan was devastated. Years later, she still spoke of him with respect and heartbreak. She said she wrote to him every year, hoping for a response. It never came. For decades, Joan Rivers vanished from The Tonight Show archives. No clips, no mentions, like she had never been there at all. Years later, Joan tried to explain why she thought Johnny Carson cut her off so harshly. I think he really felt, because I was a woman, that I just was his, that I wouldn't leave him, she once said. I know this sounds very warped, but I don't understand otherwise what was going on. When Johnny Carson passed away in 2005, Joan admitted she cried, not because the world had lost a legend, but because she had lost him, the man who gave her her first break, her mentor, the first person who truly believed in her. What hurt most was knowing he died without ever speaking to her again. I would have done anything to make it right, she said. I just wanted to talk, but he wouldn't even look at me. And Joan wasn't the only one who felt the chill of Carson's silence. Some were cut off live in front of millions. Others had no idea they'd crossed a line until the doors quietly closed behind them. Take Bobcat Goldthwaite. Known for his chaotic, unpredictable energy, Bobcat brought wildness to every stage. But one night, he went too far. During a guest appearance, he set the guest chair on fire. Live on air. It was supposed to be edgy. It ended in disaster. Even though Jay Leno was hosting at the time, the fallout felt like something Johnny Carson himself might have handed down. Bobcat was banned, arrested, fined nearly $3,000. His punishment? Making public service announcements for fire safety. His late-night career? Done. Then there was Kathy Griffin, loud, fearless, always pushing boundaries. Her honesty was her brand. But for late-night hosts, especially Jay Leno, it was too much. Johnny probably wouldn't have liked it either. She was too raw, too unpredictable, and eventually too banned. She didn't break rules. She broke comfort zones, and that was enough to be quietly erased. Not every exile was dramatic. Melanie C was clever, funny, and got along great with Carson. She made him laugh, got invited back. Even had a standout appearance in 1982 with George Burns and Richard Dawson. But on The Tonight Show, the line was always invisible. A joke misheard, a look misread, and you were done. Carson could make a star, but he could also make someone disappear. Sometimes it wasn't about rule breaking, it was about not knowing the rules at all. Howie Mandel found out the hard way. Early in his career, trying to be memorable, he brought a giant stuffed tiger on stage. Just a silly gag. But he hadn't cleared it with producers. And Carson hated surprises, especially ones that messed with his show's rhythm. After that, Howie never got another invite. No call, no reason, just silence. And then there was Lola Fana. Stunning, charismatic, a powerhouse on stage. But one night, she spoke honestly about being a black woman in showbiz, about the racism she faced in the industry. It was bold, real, important. But Johnny wasn't ready for that kind of truth on his stage. And that night, it was her last. No scandal, no confrontation, just another voice. Gone. America still wasn't ready for that kind of truth. And Carson, as powerful as he was, wasn't about to risk his empire by shaking the system. Arty Lang's story had nothing to do with Carson, but it echoed the same pattern. He was banned, this time by Conan O'Brien, during a rough spiral into addiction. Arty was unpredictable and hard to manage, so the show cut him off. At the time, it felt like exile. But years later, Arty said that ban saved his life. It forced him to stop, get help, and turn things around. When he got clean, he thanked Conan. Not every ban ends in bitterness. Sometimes rejection is the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. But Carson didn't always stay silent. Sometimes he fought back. For years, he and Wayne Newton seemed to have a respectful friendship. Carson, the king of late night. Newton, the Vegas showman. But things changed in the early 80s when Newton outbid Carson for a stake in the Aladdin Hotel. For Newton, it was business. For Johnny, it felt personal. He didn't confront him, he just turned it into a joke. But the jokes cut deep. He mocked Newton's looks, questioned his masculinity, took shots that felt less like humor and more like humiliation. The audience laughed. Newton didn't. One day, Newton went to NBC, no cameras, no entourage, and told Carson face to face, "Stop. What happened next is debated." But the jokes stopped. So did the friendship. Newton was never invited back. Carson kept the show going. But behind the scenes, the cracks were growing. Before all the fame, before the silent feuds, there was just a boy from Nebraska. Johnny Carson started small, a skinny kid with a deck of cards calling himself the Great Carsoni. He was 12, performing magic tricks for neighbors, chasing the thrill of holding an audience. He served in the Navy, studied speech, worked small radio gigs, slowly climbed his way up. His break came when he filled in for Jack Benny, and something clicked. He wasn't just good, he was effortless. In 1962, he took over The Tonight Show. Overnight, he became the voice of late-night America. He made it look easy. The charm, the timing, the way he drew people in, it was pure magic. But off camera, it was a different story. Carson was intensely private. The closer people tried to get, the more he pulled away. Friends, co-workers, even guests learned that the hard way. He smiled, joked, shook hands, but few ever got past the surface. He controlled everything, especially the show. If a guest interrupted him or stole focus, he didn't have to say a word. You'd feel it. The room chilled. The audience laughed just a little less. He ran the most powerful show in late-night television. But some nights he seemed like the loneliest man in the room. And that quiet tension, it followed him home. While Johnny ruled TV, his personal life slowly came undone.